Okay, so before we jump into some more exercises, let's briefly summarize the future tenses in German. As we learned, there are two future tenses in German, the Futur I and Futur II, future 1 and future 2. The Futur I is the German equivalent of the going to future, the will future and the future progressive. The Futur II, on the other hand, is the German equivalent of the future perfect. What does this mean for their usage? This means that the Futur I is by far the most used tense of all the two. It is used in about 99% of all future cases, and the only exception is when you talk about things that will be over at some point in the future. That's the case where you use the Futur II. In all other cases, you use the Futur I. Alternatively, for plans and stuff like that, you can also use the Präsens, our present tense, to talk about the future, just like in English. I go there tomorrow, for example. Ich gehe dort morgen hin. But if we stick with the tenses that were really made to talk about the future, you use the Futur I in 99% of all cases. Now let's have a look at how they are formed. The Futur I is formed by using the Hilfsverb or auxiliary verb werden and then adding the infinitive of the verb. So for example, wir werden sehen. Wir werden sehen. It is actually fairly easy because there are no exceptions, no irregular verbs, and the only thing that needs to be conjugated is werden. The Futur II, on the other hand, is much more difficult. Here we also have the conjugated version of werden, but after that we move on with the Partizip zwei. You know, this thing that we already learned when we talked about the perfect and Plusquamperfekt. In our example sentence, wir werden gesehen haben, for example, it's gesehen. That's our Partizip zwei. And after that, we either have the infinitive of sein or haben. In our example sentence, it is haben, and actually in most cases it is haben. Sein is only used if the verb involves movement or some form of change. So, summarized as short as possible, in almost all cases we use the Futur I. And the Futur I is formed by using the conjugated form of the Hilfsverb or auxiliary verb werden and the infinitive of the other verb. And if we have a more complicated sentence, unlike the sentences that we have right here, werden goes at position number 2 after the subject, and sehen, or the infinitive in general, is used at the end of the sentence, so everything else is squished in between. And that's all you need to know about the future tenses. Das ist alles, was du über die Zukunftsformen wissen musst. And that means we're done with all of the tenses in German. Good job! But I'm pretty sure you could use some more practice. That's why in the following we will have an entire chapter that's full with exercises about all of the tenses we've had so far. The present tenses, past tenses and future tenses. So good luck with the exercises, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'll see you in our next video. Bis gleich. See you soon.